I wanted to kind of switch topics a little bit, or switch directions a little bit from away from politics, and talk about um, a little bit pop culture, a little bit economics, but how you think that coronavirus will change. I mean, we were talking a little bit before about Tenet, the new Christopher Nolan movie that's going to come out, has kind of been heralded as the savior of cinema that's going to bring back this tide. And just kind of, I wanted to get your opinion on how coronavirus and things that have happened and lockdown and restrictions are going to affect industries like that that need crowds, sporting events, movies.
So I think that, first of all, coronavirus was so mishandled that what shouldn't have put businesses in jeopardy, or I shouldn't say shouldn't, because it definitely could have, but I think that it was so mishandled that we should have spent money more efficiently, right? We did like PPP, we did the CARES Act. Like I think both of those were,
well, the economic impact could have been mitigated greatly.
Right. I think that like there's some stats I've heard that like 40% of restaurants are going to go out of business. Like some of these crazy
40 to 50% of small businesses might not open up again. And it's just, and
I think the movie industry is like probably like one of those that was like just like beaten by coronavirus.
Oh, for sure. Because I mean,
one of them declared bankruptcy, didn't they? Like,
who was it?
Or they were borderline going to AMC. I think their stock price decreased by like.
Oh yeah, all the movie, like the movie, not studios as much, but still studios were hit hard. But like movie theater chains, were just, I mean, destroyed. So I've heard it's either going to go one of two ways with that. Is you're either only going to have little tiny like single screen theaters and everything else will just be on video on demand, like how they released, like they're doing Mulan.
Yeah.
That type of release, or we'll get like massive stadium theaters.
Yeah.
But it's crazy that we're going to see these lasting impacts on kind of industries that haven't seen a ton of change in a long time that could like fundamentally shape that. And like sporting events, how long is it before people are comfortable to go sit in the stands with 20,000 other basketball fans or like 80,000 other football fans in
I think it'll be sooner than you think. I think Trump sort of won the long game with corona, like by attacking it. I don't think it's right to like attack what, like people wearing masks. He's like, I don't know. Trump's such a weirdo, but I think he won the long game because people are like getting tired of coronavirus. Like you couldn't shut down a state again. Like you couldn't completely shut down a state again. Like I don't think people are going to accept it.
Yeah.
Like if California were to go say quarantine 14 days, everybody again, I don't think people would do it.
Yeah. I just think I've seen a lot of people. I mean, some of those theaters, like specifically movie theaters, because obviously sports venues aren't opening up again. And movie theaters is one thing that usually draws a bigger crowd in kind of a confined space, but they're struggling to fill seats. They're running at like 30% capacity or something, like super socially distanced. Yeah, movie.
Well, that's because no good movies have been released lately.
But you'd think, I mean, they're even doing. I think AMC was running a deal where they were selling 15-cent tickets.
Really,
tickets were 15 cents. Yeah, and can't fill the theater.
Well, did you hear that? I'm not sure how familiar you are with this situation, but Trolls 2
made
world tour
about as much money as they expected.
Yeah,
video on demand.
And AMC retaliated and said like, we're never going to show your studio's films in our theaters again.
Yeah, but I think, I mean, it's going to be weird, but Trolls World Tour might
it was like a proof of concept.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting because Mulan is supposed to release in the next week, which probably
digitally?
has... Yeah, video on demand. It's going to be, you'll pay kind of the same concept as the Trolls World Tour.
Why would Disney not have like a video on demand in the Disney Plus app?
They do.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, that's where it's going to be.
You're going to rent it from Disney Plus.
Yeah, rent it from Disney Plus.
Oh, shoot.
So it'll be interesting to see because why risk if it makes as much money as they expected it to make? And
do you think it will?
I think it will because we're still theaters are closed and everything, and I think that Mulan Like, people are pretty excited for it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it will. But I think it'll be interesting to see. I don't know how much you can read into it because people are still stuck. Theaters aren't open. People are still scared. But if it keeps working and theaters keep doing it, like, why do I go to... TVs are so good now, and people have big TVs, or just, I mean, TVs that they can use and watch movies on. Why go to a theater?
The concessions.
Like,
I think the experience. I think that's why I went to a theater, right?
Yeah, so that's where the, like, big stadium seating theaters, that idea came in, is because if you're going, like, if I want to see the new Avengers movie, I want to see it with a bunch of other people and hear all the reactions and stuff. But what if I'm watching some movie that I don't really care about, like Frozen 3 comes out, and I'm watching it with my family? Do I really care to, like, be in the theater? Yeah. So I think that's where you could see a lot of family movies, to me, end up...
Yeah, I could see that.
Just going video on demand if it works, because do you want to drag four kids to the theater? Yeah. And the studio avoids the split with the theater.
Yeah,
and
like 10%.
People, well, yeah, the way it works is a lot of times in the first week or two,
they make nothing, right?
The theaters make nothing, yeah.
Yeah.
And then as it goes on, the longer it shows in the theater, they start making more of that. But you could see where, I mean, like, I think Trolls World Tour was a perfect proof of concept for that, as, like, a family movie. Yeah. That I don't care about seeing this with, like, you. I mean, I'm sure parents were just like, I just want to put this on. Like, my kids just want to see it. Like, they're not super interested, and there's no benefit to being in an audience with a bunch of people. And so why would you ever go to the theater and pay more than you're paying for the on-demand? I'd rather make...
Popcorn is like $9.
I'd rather make 15-cent popcorn and, like, pour... Even if you... Because you could run to some store and get drinks, get soda, and not have to pay the ridiculous prices. So I think that's one way that, like, coronavirus has probably changed. We'll see a lot more video on demand, straight to video on demand.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think runs in theaters will be so much shorter. Like, instead of running for, like, 2 months in a theater, or, like, a month and a half, whatever, you could see, like, 2 weeks. It's in the theater for 2 weeks, and then goes straight to video on demand through the streamer, which could kill movie theaters.
Dude, how weird is it that we live in a time where the preview trailer for Tenet was shown on Fortnite? How crazy is that?
Yeah, that's
like an exclusive preview.
Christopher Nolan, on Fortnite. This guy that, yeah, and it's and I think that's a interesting kind of, not telling, but, like, it shows a little bit of the mentality of, like, where audiences are and where they kind of get their media. That it's Tenet, this, like, big blockbuster, Christopher Nolan kind of prestige director. They had a movie called Prestige, but like, in the sense that, like, these big movies that are competing for Oscars.
Yeah, dude.
Showed a trailer in Fortnite.
It shows how big video games are. The video game industry is bigger than the music and movie industries
combined. Yeah.
The video game industry is ginormous.
Yeah. And it is yeah, and so it just shows that, and even, I mean, we've seen it in politics, that, like, traditional kind of establishment things are breaking down, and it's kind of all over. I mean, who would have thought, like, 15 years ago, if you said that you were going to have a streaming service where you could watch every Disney movie ever, and, like, new stuff like that, crazy. Like, the new Star Wars TV show is coming out, and just kind of the change, the dramatic shift in media, and how people consume media is, like, changing the, I mean, entertainment landscape, the political landscape. I mean, I know a ton of people that get all their news off of YouTube.
That's me. That's a lot of me.
Yeah,
90%
no, for
of
sure.
my news.
And they get all their, I mean, they don't know cable, nothing like that. It's just streaming services.
Yeah,
and
we
so
don't have cable.
Yeah, so it's super interesting that how much of a change that is, and that you're starting to get, and I think that was already happening, and with coronavirus, it's just accelerating it.
Yeah.
That there's less of a demand for in-person things like that, and more of a demand for, oh, I want this now, like in-home, personal, on my phone, on my own TV. And so coronavirus took an industry that was already dealing with that change and just sped it up times 10.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Coronavirus has done a lot of like things that I think everyone like reevaluated everything. It changed everything.
Oh, it's going to change. One thing that it's going to, I don't think people are going to go into the office anymore. Like, if people can work from home,
working from home,
so many more. Because I think there's been a realization that you can do a lot more from home than companies thought. Like, you don't need to be in the office. I think it'll destroy the like business travel. Like, I don't know how much people travel for business anymore, because it's like you just do a conference call. You hop on a conference call that you've been doing and has worked. But it's just, every aspect of life has been just drastically changed by coronavirus.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see as we come out of it how much people just go back to normal, kind of what it was like before, and how much it leaves a lasting impact on all that stuff.
That'll be interesting. Yeah, I don't know. It seems like, I think people are getting like sick of corona though.
For sure.
Sick. Like, I think what should have happened is like we should have had like
a 6-week to 2-month lockdown, just complete lockdown.
6 weeks
at the start, at the very start. I think that gets rid of coronavirus. I don't think we have a coronavirus issue. Yeah. And then everyone wears masks outside for the next 3 to 4 months. Coronavirus is a thing of the past and doesn't affect anything. And you might even not need 6 to 8 weeks.
And everyone should have gotten like 80% of their salary just paid, like Britain did. And
yeah, so
we got a $1,200 check, and they're not going to come out with another stimulus. Like, I think it's pretty fair to say, like, the Democrats and Republicans are a freaking joke.
They're not gonna.
Trump literally had to do it himself, and there's like hardly any stimulus in there besides like unemployment benefits. Going on,
and you don't even have. And there's different ways to do it. Like Sweden it's basically like coronavirus never happened, and they just let it pass.
Yeah, they went for herd immunity.
They didn't really do anything about it, and we did this weird like split where we sort of shut down the economy, sort of like kept people. We left it up to
the states.
Yeah, exactly, and so
then that's where it became a political issue, in my opinion. As soon as you left it up to the states.
Yeah, and so we didn't have the opportunity to just let it pass through, and it's a harsh judgment to say just let it pass through, and the people that are immunocompromised or old just have to do their best to avoid it, and just deal with it like Sweden did. Or and as much as I don't like, say like New Zealand. New Zealand's done a really good job with it, and they shut down like pretty hard, and they obviously have it easier with a smaller population, like on an island.
Right.
But they shut down pretty hard, and then now they're kind of they don't really have any cases anymore.
Yeah.
But we kind of straddled the line. We didn't want to tell anybody what to do, but we felt we couldn't just do nothing, and that like placed a super heavy burden like economically on businesses, and also extended the pandemic because we couldn't go all the way either direction. Yeah.
Should we call it?
Yep, let's call it there.
Ooh, episode 5.
Episode 5 over.